Welcome to the Straight Out of Home Video podcast, part of the Geeky Waffle Network. Today we're talking about Pocahontas 2, Journey to a New World, that came out in 1998, and boy, did it not age well. I'm Candace, and with me is my co-host, Arezou.
Hello.
And our special guest, Swara. Hey, Swara.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
And you chose this movie.
Yes.
I'm
I
saying
did.
this.
He wants to make us hurt.
Yeah, we've been kind of keeping this to the side. We're like, we'll eventually get to it. And then you're like, Pocahontas 2. And we're like, oh no.
Listen, if Aladdin 2 or Aladdin 3 or The Little Mermaid 2 were still available, I would have chosen one of those in a heartbeat. But this was one of the only other Disney straight-to-videos that I could remember. As a kid, I enjoyed it because, we were just talking before the recording, like Arezou and I, we loved Pocahontas and just generally seeing her. And as kids, we weren't really thinking about what they were saying on screen. No historical context or understanding of racism and colorism. Now watching it as an adult, this movie's just a big yikes all around. And let's discuss it.
Yeah. And as a kid, I actually hated this. But not because of racism, because I didn't
You knew before we did.
No, it was because she ended up with John Rolfe, and I felt like that just ruined the first movie with John Smith, and they're all like, oh, I would rather die 1,000 times.
But how bold a move. How bold a move for Disney to have their teenage, I assume, protagonist fall in love with a guy.
She's 18 years
and that's
old.
Usually the be all end all of their life. And then in the sequel, she moves on from her ex and gets with somebody new. How bold of them to do that.
Technically, I think that was kind of progressive for Disney at the time, I guess. And they were also trying to be historically accurate.
No, they weren't. Let's be real. Okay, so in the trivia, it includes...
She's an adult. Already they've lost that one.
Yeah. Loosely based upon the real-life Pocahontas trip to England. And it's
extremely
loosely
based.
Loosely in that she went to England. And that's where it ends. That's where the accuracy ends.
Okay, and can I just give you guys a little historical detail?
Please.
Okay, because this is something that's always bugged me is I love the first Pocahontas movie too. It was amazing. The music I still love. And I did research and I got a little biography that was meant for kids of Pocahontas. Mm-hmm. And I remember this vividly. She dies on the way back from England to America.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the end of the movie, she's about to die.
I mean, okay. So first of all, she's not, a teenager at the end of the movie. So already she's beat the historical record.
Right.
Yeah. She dies at 21.
Oh, damn. I thought she was younger.
No, she's 21.
Yeah, she's 18 in the first one. And and she had a kid at the time.
I mean, in real life, I thought she was younger when she died. So, damn it.
She was 21. Oh, she was 21 in real life. Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. In my notes, oh my God, I have 4 pages of notes, guys. I am so scared of this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I also put, I don't know if it's better or worse that Mel Gibson isn't in this.
Better.
On balance. Better. So, Let's not add a virulent racist again to the mix. Yeah. Even though there's a lot of racism in this movie.
There's enough racism in this movie. We don't need more.
Yes.
Yeah. He John Smith is played by Mel Gibson's brother, Donald Gibson.
I honestly, until you told me that, just thought it was Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
So until 3 days ago.
Just mind blown. So we see the intro and John Smith straight up kills a guy.
Did he though?
He tossed him out a really tall tower. So
no, but the guy was okay. I thought I remember the guy landing on something.
No, that was in the prison break.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay then.
Can I just say that they're coming to arrest John Smith and they don't, knock on the door and come in like they should. They're sneaking in like they want to kill him. I did not realize until they said by order of the king or whatever, you're under arrest, that they were there to arrest him. I'm like, oh, assassins. Because that's how they're behaving.
Okay, so here's what bothered me about this scene. So they claimed, we're coming to arrest you for treason against the king. So yeah, like I was like, yeah, John Smith, the monarchy is awful. Like go ahead and be treasonous. Fine. And, this could be a great story about resisting the monarchy, but alas, they
They
just,
just
no,
solve racism by the end of it, so
oh
it's fine.
God. No, but like you see, again, it irks me because it's like within the film universe's own logic, it's not logical, and I just like flew up my hands and like for the rest of this, I just give up with this movie.
I didn't realize till you just pointed it out that he's going, oh well, you must be looking for Radcliffe. I'm like, but why would they? Because
why would they?
The settlers like staged a revolt and threw Radcliffe in a boat back to England, but there was like no reason for them to.
Right. Like,
point.
I mean, by the king's logic, yeah.
Wow, people have consequences.
Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we go back to America, and Pocahontas finds out that, like, she knows John Smith is dead, and she's, like, mourning him. Also, like, how many animal sidekicks does one Disney princess need? Because she has
She's a Native American.
Flick, and Percy, the dog, that belonged to Radcliffe, is, like, now part of the gang, which is nice,
Yeah.
I have in my notes that when he sees his old owner and he gets scared, that made me really sad.
Oh, yeah, it was. But anyway, yeah, she's the Native American princess, so obviously she needs all the animals because Native Americans just have a natural thing with animals. Like, that's just science, Not racist at all.
Can I just say before we go on to like the actual plot that Nakoma deserves better and she needs a friend who won't run away all the time?
Oh my God.
I have that.
Yes.
I said I feel bad for Nakoma. Yeah, I like that in the first movie, like she has a female best friend who's also human.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually Disney princesses just have animal friends, other than like Tiana, but that's later on.
True.
In an ideal
she actually
scenario,
becomes an animal.
Okay, yeah, that's a whole
thing.
Other thing.
That's a whole thing.
I just was rewatching Emperor's New Groove because we just did Kronk's New Groove, and I was like, there's a whole genre of people of color starring in animated movies and turning into animals.
Love it.
I'm surprised Pocahontas didn't turn into something.
Aladdin and Jasmine didn't turn into anything, thankfully.
Well, actually.
Oh, no.
You're watching the Aladdin animated series.
Well, in the series, their movie, they're human the whole time.
Right. Thankfully in the movies. But there's one time in the Aladdin animated series where Jasmine is cursed to turn into a snake person. And
I remember that.
Right?
Oh, she's also a mermaid in one.
And also she's a mermaid in one. But anyway, at the end of it, where she thinks she's going to be lost forever as a snake person, Aladdin so sweetly decides to become a snake person with her as well. And it's just it's the sweetest thing, honestly.
Gold.
I have in my notes, Miko is straight up savage. Like, he's like eating a biscuit right in front of Percy. He cuts it in half and Percy's like, oh, he's going to share. And no, he just fits both in his mouth.
I think Miko gets a great deal of pleasure out of bothering Percy, which honestly, fair.
Yeah, they're like siblings. It's
the basis of their entire dynamic is Miko antagonizing him. Was
Billy Zane, who plays John Rolfe, trying to do a British accent?
I don't know.
It's weird.
I was trying to think back to Titanic. I'm like, is that just what Billy Zane sounds like?
He's American.
So he doesn't have one of those like weird, like halfway in between accents?
I don't know.
I feel like that's what he sounds like in Titanic. Am I wrong?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I think that's what it sounds like.
It was very strange, though. It was very, very strange.
John Rolfe just hears the name Pocahontas. Somebody's talking like, oh, Pocahontas wouldn't let war happen. And he just like assumes that's the chief. He doesn't do any research or ask anyone else. He just overhears like this one conversation and he goes to the tribe.
He shows up to a sovereign nation. Like, why can't you just let King James run your shit? Like, So why would he do any research? He just assumes things.
They just assume the chief will spend months away from his people
to talk to King James.
Yeah, King James wouldn't come over there, though.
No, he can't. That's just not done.
I know, and they're like,
the audacity of the British.
Feel like they can go anywhere and just roll over everything they claim because, one of the other European nations hasn't claimed it yet. So they're the only ones that matter. Mm-hmm. Love the colonizing era. Gotta love it.
Also, During this, one of the tribe members says they mean to destroy our sacred land. And Pocahontas is like, is that what they want?
Yes!
Yes!
That's
That is what
exactly
they
what
want
they
to
want.
do! Did you not meet Radcliffe in the other movie? Like, I think they just... Okay, from a writing perspective, I think what these writers got so wrong from the first film was that Pocahontas was never naive. She was smart. She just wanted to reach out with diplomatic effort, but she also called out, you know, like whatever the British colonizers were trying to do in the first one. And she had a conversation. That's the whole basis of Colors of the Wind.
Yeah.
You know, it's in the song, like, you think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. So she's not naive about any of this. She knows that there are British people who want to come do that. And she has to, like, maintain, like, a back and forth. If, like, they want to come and set up, like, a colony, I don't know. Like,
but the thing is, they've already done that.
Right, they've already done that, yeah.
So that's what I don't understand. They've set it up, and then she's like, well, is that what they want? I'm going, yeah, because you were in Jamestown 5 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
So...
yeah. And it's like, oh, Pocahontas says it's not wrong. It's okay, we're here, guys. All white people, we're good.
Why couldn't she have just been like, we can, like, instead of, is that what they want? Maybe they can be reasoned with. Maybe they'll change their mind. And then the rest of the plot can unfold exactly the way it does. And it's just her trying to talk them out of it instead of going there to determine whether or not they want to do the exact thing they're already doing right in front of her face.
Okay, so Pocahontas decides to go in her father's stead to England. And on the ship, the dog gets drunk on rum. The captain was about to cut her. Like, he had his sword out, was going to stab her.
Yeah.
John Rolfe, like, stopped him. And she's like, oh, that's hot.
Because it's like the second time he did it, right? There was somebody in Jamestown, too, who was just ready to smack her for knocking his biscuits over or whatever.
Yeah, and, like, that's what makes her attracted to him. That he makes sure somebody doesn't, like, perform a hate crime.
I will say the one line I like is when she's all upset at John Rolfe for interfering. And he's like, I beg your pardon. And she's like, fine, you have it. And walks away. I'm like, that. Okay, that was great.
Yeah.
This energy the whole time, please.
Yeah, this was like doing the barest minimum of making sure I'm not hit by someone is like...
He's doing his job. This is literally his job.
Literally just his job. Just not even the bare minimum of like...
It's like going to an Arby's and getting your sandwich and being like, that person loves me. I'm just like, sir, this is an Arby's. Okay, you guys ready to talk about What a Day in London?
Fine. Fine, let's do it.
So we got a song here, which is pretty much an introduction of like the British people.
The white people, because Pocahontas is the first person of color to ever set foot in London.
Yes, and everyone's like amazed by her. She climbs a tree and they're like, what is that?
Oh
She's flying. No, she climbed a freaking tree.
This song, and honestly, like the whole setup of London, what they do, I realized watching it, it's a very bad impersonation of Beauty and the Beast, of the Belle song.
Oh, yeah.
And and the housekeeper is just like a rip-off Mrs. Potts. Yep.
Oh, the housekeeper, Mrs. Jenkins, is played by Jean Stapleton, who is Edith Bunker on All in the Family.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why her voice sounded so familiar, because like God. All in the Family would play at Nick at Night.
Wow. I never watched that, actually, so it wasn't familiar to me. Like, I just thought, like, oh, yeah, Mrs. Potts ripoff.
Yeah, but yeah.
Like a teapot.
Yeah, so Mrs. Jenkins, like, runs John Rolfe's household, I guess.
Right.
And so John goes to the king and is like, I didn't bring the chief, but I got the princess. They call her princess. And she gets invited to the ball. And be like, prove she's not a savage. And he's like so upset because he's like, how can that be? Like,
he has so much faith in her. He's like, you can't help but be outrageously savage, obviously.
Exactly.
Okay, here's something that didn't make sense to me when she's getting ready for the ball. Is that she goes running out in her underwear, which is basically a long sleeve shirt and long pants.
Right.
And he freaks out because she's essentially in her bra and underwear. So he's like, no, you're in your underwear. So then she gets half dressed, puts on like the corset and her hoop skirt, still not wearing her actual dress. Then it's fine. Then she can go outside. I'm like, she's still in her bra and underwear though. Only it doesn't seem to bother him anymore. And I couldn't figure out why that wasn't a problem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I got no idea. Okay, you guys ready to talk about the worst thing about this song? They literally lighten her skin with powder. It bothers me so much.
And if it was just unaddressed and it's just like, you're wearing makeup because everybody wears makeup and everybody looks really cosmetically done up or whatever, I would let it go. But then they make this whole thing about her like washing it off later.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, that was a statement.
Yeah. I think... Wait, when did this movie come out again?
1998.
So, so like Mulan probably hadn't come out yet or was in like the zeitgeist or anything. Because like it did remind me of, while Mulan sings Reflection and she wipes away her makeup. But that's like not... Even though it is like white makeup, it's not necessarily...
Mulan came out the same year.
Right,
Mulan came out the same year.
But it's a different choice for Mulan because with Mulan, they have painted her up to the beauty standard of the other girls around her. But the other girls around her are still Chinese.
Right, absolutely.
So
whereas this was like her...
Absolutely.
Whereas this was like her trying to look whiter specifically. Yeah. And again, in Mulan, you can tell like everyone knows that's not the people's natural skin tone. Like no one's like bleached white,
Like everybody's made up the same way.
Exactly. But so this is still very explicitly colorist and racist, what we see here with the lightening of her skin. And in a way, like, really it's like tragic because like you have in a lot of South Asia and I think the Middle East, like skin bleaching products, which are super harmful. I mean,
we were talking about this, Candace. They fair and lovely'd her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm half Indian, and I was like shocked when like I would go over there because I'm fairly fair. My whiteness takes over sometimes when I don't get any sun, and people really prize the lighter skin. And there's literally face bleach. Like there's ads everywhere. Like
it's awful.
It's insane. And that's really, I think, what really like stuck out to me. I was like, yep, nope. This is when John Rolfe is like, oh, you're beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, can we talk about this relationship for a second? Because where was the real chemistry? And again, like I think that the first moment that they connected was like, oh, he prevented like a hate crime being done upon her. But other than that, did y'all detect like real chemistry between them?
No, she and John Smith have more chemistry. Not in this movie. Right. In the last one. Yeah.
The only thing I can think is like Mrs. Jenkins is like, if John promises you something, he keeps it. Pocahontas is like, oh, man of his word, bare minimum.
Man who keeps his promises.
Barest minimum.
Okay, like there's one moment in the first Pocahontas that was cut out. Like you can see it on YouTube. It's on some of the DVDs. It's like the If I Never Knew You sequence, which was released for like one of the anniversaries.
A really good
but it wasn't,
sequence, yeah.
It's such a beautiful sequence. And the thing is, in those 2 minutes that got cut out of the movie, Pocahontas and John Smith convey so much more emotion and closeness and chemistry and connection than she does with John Rolfe in the entirety of this movie.
Mm-hmm. I love that song so much.
It's heartbreaking.
So if I never knew you. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, it's so good.
It's beautiful. And we never quite hit that in this movie.
Not once.
And by the time they're done, by the time they're at the ball, they're like almost kissing.
I don't get it.
They were on that ship for a while. It takes a while to get to England.
Then why do they act like they just met when they get to England? Do you know what I mean? Like the dynamic is the same as if they flew from Virginia to London.
Exactly. Yeah. It feels like they barely know each other still. And like he could have been prepping her on the ship,
Yeah,
There's so much.
Yeah, that's true. He could have been
Especially
sort
if
of teaching her what to be, but no.
Yeah, especially if she was going to meet the king all the time, like the entire time. That was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. Okay. So they go to the ball. There's a lot of drunk people there. I'm like surprised Disney's just like, oh look, this guy's just passing out because he drank so much.
Well, Sleeping Beauty did that, right?
This is 1998, Arezou.
I know, but Sleeping Beauty was like the 50s. They did it then. They'll do it in the 90s, right?
Okay. 90s was a wild time.
The 90s makes no sense.
I mean, we got this movie, so really.
Yeah, fair. The same year as Mulan. That just hurts me so much.
The what?
It's the same year as Mulan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know where all the money went that year.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot to talk about Yuta Maken.
Uda Matamakan.
I cannot say that name. But yeah, he goes to the ball too. And damn, the ladies are like, hey.
I can see why he stayed in London. He's like, this is going to work out much
Yeah.
better for me than it would back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, did he just like marry Mrs. Jenkins or is he just like dating
He's just
with
living
her?
with her now.
You just
Okay,
yeah,
just-
they're just shacking up, I guess.
Mrs. Jenkins and every other woman in London is just like, damn.
He's like, I'm gonna climb you. Yeah.
Oh god.
He was smile. He like smiled the first time you see him smile.
Yep.
Is like the ladies are like, hey, and he's like, hey.
He's like, sorry, Pocahontas, I'm not going back.
Oh my god.
But how
Okay,
much of a
so-
mood was it? Maybe not for the two of you, but it was such a mood when the herald is trying to announce him at the ball and keeps getting his name wrong. I'm like, if that wasn't every supply teacher I ever had growing up trying to say my name, I'm like, what a mood.
Yeah, no, my parents gave me American name for that one reason. Oh gosh. There's so much in this. So much in this.
How terrible was the song at the ball? Because truly, I forgot that was in the movie.
Bad. I forgot that too. It was just like, I don't understand the point. It's like, we understand Radcliffe is bad as the audience, and just, I guess the song was for the king to try and make him have doubts about Pocahontas, but also like, I don't know. It's just
Is
bad.
magic real in this world?
Well, I mean, she learned English from a tree
Yeah.
in 10 seconds.
No, looking inside her heart, Arezou.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And you
After
will
she talked to the
understand.
tree about it.
The tree made her look inside her heart.
To know English.
Okay, that was the other thing that I was telling both of you yesterday, that she's all mad at John Smith for never writing to her, but then as soon as she gets to London, she's like, so many signs, I wonder what they say. I'm like, so how are you going to read the letters he sent if you can't read English?
The wind would have told her.
Grandmother Willow was going to read it to her.
Yeah. Yeah, I have in my notes. What the F is with this dinner entertainment?
I feel like that was a thing, though, wasn't it? Like bear baiting at parties?
Oh, yeah, that part,
Yeah.
but like the magic and.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
But yeah,
what
okay,
the-
straight up animal abuse. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're just literally torturing a bear for fun.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Pocahontas
so
is
awful.
not okay with that. I mean, like, who would be? Well, these white people are.
These white British people. Yep. Weird with this movie where it feels you can see some of them actually doing this sort of thing and like being so cruel and awful, but it's not framed in the way that it could be just saying it tries to frame them as misguided rather than willfully malicious, if that makes sense.
Yes,
And-
because they did the same
and-
thing in the first one.
Same thing in the first one where, I mean, you know, like kids, here's the thing. I don't think it like, you know, kids watching it, like, you know, we all did are going to like see it and think like, that's actually how it was. You know, it's like, I think it actually, you know, for me, you know, Arezou mentioned, or Candace, sorry, you mentioned having a book about Pocahontas, kids book about it and like learning more about it. Like I had that too, then like doing more research about it. So it at least sparks interest about what the real story was. And I think like most people know, like, you know, that's not how this actually was, you know, the dynamic of the British and those that they colonized. It's like, you know, Disney like needs to understand, and I think they are, thankfully, you know, with more complex stories like Raya and the Last Dragon, Frozen, and others, that you can have like these complicated stories about, you know, maybe issues between groups and find how you actually find common ground and understanding about what oppression actually is. But, you know, Disney still has a far way to go, but I'd say they've come a long way since 1995 and 1998 with these films. So that's my
they're
spiel.
learning at least, and
They're learning,
more diversity behind the scenes, which is very important.
Absolutely.
They're not trying to solve racism in 90 minutes anymore.
Exactly.
Or just say like racism doesn't really exist. It's like just a few people, aren't great. And can we talk about like how like King James is like like such a fool? Like she says he's a good king, and he's like, amen. And then it's like Queen Anne is like the smart one.
Queen Anne is the one running that country.
But anyway, so Pocahontas gets imprisoned, and is she supposed to be killed?
I think so. Like the Tower of London was for like where people would be killed at like sunrise. So yeah.
Jeez, mortal peril.
So you know who breaks her out of prison? It's the John Squared.
Gasp. John Smith is alive?
Oh my god.
What?
Okay, sorry. At the beginning of the film, we saw him like fall into the water. Obviously, he's not dead. It wasn't that like large of a fall. Like,
but how bold would it have been if they actually killed him?
That would have been bold, but also like this is a 1998 Disney movie.
Yeah, I know.
So I just like that just like really annoyed me at the beginning. Like, you can't actually think this guy is dead if you don't have a body, B, it wasn't that long of a fall. And I know I shouldn't be like critiquing it that much. Oh, quote unquote, it's just a kid's movie, but I will critique it as I like, damn it.
You know what I will say? John Squared had a hell of a lot more chemistry than Pocahontas did with either of them.
They did. They really did.
I'm like, I don't think that was the intention, but the snark and the one-upmanship, I'm like, you know who's got chemistry is John Rolfe and John Smith.
That's what I had too. I said, feels like the Johns are flirting. I ship it.
Yeah. How John bold would that have been in 1998?
Hey, what if they became like a threesome instead?
Yeah. Polyamory. Go for it.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. Thruple, right? That's what they're called? Thruple?
Yeah. Like, okay. John Rolfe and Pocahontas can go back to Virginia. John Smith can go with them with his ship. And then when he wants to go explore, he can. And then he comes home to his loving couple. And that's that. And then there'll be a throuple.
Exactly.
We solved it. Yeah.
Solved it. Hire us, Disney.
After that, we're never getting hired by Disney.
So yeah, like Pocahontas and John Smith, like they hug and they're like, oh my God, you're alive, all this kind of stuff. But like there seems to be something between them, like not between them anymore. Mm-hmm. And John Smith realizes that John Rolfe loves her.
It's so weird. It's so weird how it's presented. Like, he's like professing his love for her and like we're together again. That's all that matters. And, she runs away. Okay. It's like also like where this irked me. Like the argument like they were having and John Smith saying, what do you expect her to do? Stay and get killed? Like, dude, the last movie you were all about like having peace with the Powhatans and just like standing up for them and maybe sacrificing your own life for the chief. And like now you're here saying like Pocahontas should just say like buzz off to her people and just what?
He's changed so much. He had to change.
He changed so much.
Or else it wouldn't make sense for them to break up.
Maybe he bumped his head on the way down.
Yeah, because that's another thing. That's the main thing. Like also I didn't like as a kid, not just that she didn't end up with John Smith. It's like this character is vastly different. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me, okay, so this is what it reminds me of. It's like the fan fiction trope of when you want to get the canon couple to break up, you make them like into like, I think the trope is called Ron is a Death Eater.
Yeah.
You just like make them evil or stupid or something just to break them up instead of having like a legit reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So that's what it reminded me of. It's like just making John Smith not who he was in the first one to make it understandable why Pocahontas would go for John Rolfe.
Yeah. It was to be historically accurate. Because that's who she ended up with in real life.
This is the movie. So yeah, I have in my notes. I'm like, wow, that was a quick breakup. Because, okay, so there's a fight. She goes back to the king and she's like, hey, don't do that.
Don't do the racism. And the king's like, okay.
Okay, yeah. No, racism from us.
No, but specifically, it's because like John Smith showed up and said, and he told you I was dead. What else did he lie to you about? Like, no, he didn't lie. He thought you were dead. Like, it's just this makes no sense. I don't understand like why any of this should be compelling to this racist colonialist king. It doesn't make sense.
Because King James is all about the drama.
Of course. Makes sense.
So yeah, they have the race for their Armada before they go to like the Armada's gonna like kill everybody, I think. Like all her people. And John Smith is like, oh no, you shouldn't risk it, even though like all her people are about to die, John. So there's some sword fighting. I felt like it was really stupid. John Smith, like he beat Radcliffe, but then he gives him back his sword.
I don't know.
The drama. We gotta have drama.
Yeah. Then Radcliffe like points a gun at him, and then Rolfe like saves his life. Even though like Radcliffe could have like pulled that trigger and just killed John Smith. I think that's what Rolfe wanted. Let me get the competition out.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rolfe is promoted to like assistant to the king or something, and then Smith gets his own ship to go exploring, and he's so excited, and he's like, Pocahontas, this is what we always wanted, which Pocahontas literally sang a whole song just around the river bend about finding adventure and exploring and saying she wanted to do that with John Smith in the last movie. And then she's like, nah.
Okay, that entire song, Just Around the River Bend, was not about wanting to explore with John Smith. It's I don't want to marry Coco, which honestly, girl, like, why? Why not? This is my soapbox.
Serious. What? He doesn't know how to have fun.
It wasn't about exploring with John Smith, but it was like about adventure.
Yeah, about having something more.
Yeah.
Which I guess she got. She went to England. She's like, you know what? The world is racist. I think I'm going to go home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what
true.
She was like.
Where things are about to get exponentially worse, but she doesn't know that.
Oh, dear. This movie.
The implications of this movie.
Yeah, so Pocahontas goes back on the ship to England. She's all alone, except with her like 3 animal sidekicks.
She needs more animal sidekicks. That's what she has to go home for.
She should have gotten a corgi or something too.
Yeah, yes. That's
I'm trying to think of what a British animal is.
A horse. She could have got another horse.
No, she didn't get a horse.
But she left it with her dad, so she should have got another horse.
Right.
So she's like looking out, like Rolfe didn't say goodbye to her. She's just looking up as the boat goes sailing. And then all of a sudden she hears his voice. He's like, maybe someday we'll return to England. That's my English Rolfe Billy Zane impression.
Listen, Billy Zane's not doing a British accent. I don't know why.
Yeah, why should I try?
You did a better job.
And so they kiss. So she trades one white man John for another. The end.
Yay.
Okay, so oh my god, I went down a rabbit hole after this movie.
Oh, I'm excited for this.
I got stuck, guys. This ending is hated by the majority of fans.
Makes sense.
Sorry, fans of this movie or fans of Pocahontas?
Fans of the original Pocahontas.
Okay.
John Rolfe is one of the most unpopular Disney characters of all time. Disney noticed this and had, when like the Disney princess couples, when they have like their princess with them, it's always John Smith. Like at the parks, at the merch, everything like that.
I used to work at the Disney store, and when we did limited edition dolls, it was Pocahontas and John Smith.
Yep. So this like sequel is kind of like dismissed from Disney canon.
Makes
Even
sense.
though like Little Mermaid 2, Melody, like if you asked Ariel at the parks about Melody, she'll talk about
of course, it's her daughter. Yeah.
But I don't think if you asked Pocahontas about John Rolfe, she'd say anything. I want to test that out now.
Remind me not to be there when you do, because I'll just hide.
No, I was thinking about bringing one of my friend's kids with me and telling them to ask instead.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to be asking these grown women.
You just go up to her at Animal Kingdom and be like, so where's John Rolfe? She'll be like, who?
I don't know him.
He's around. I guess.
It just broke the Disney formula, you know? You know, the princess or prince for that matter, they cannot get with someone else that they were originally introduced to. Only one true love per prince and
I mean,
princess.
Frozen did break that up, but like
That's true.
Han
Sorry.
was
Yeah.
evil.
Hashtag justice for Hans.
Oh no. Oh no. How many
Hashtag
podcasts?
Hans was framed.
So yeah, okay. So if you know there's a Disney Wikipedia,
You're
so
right.
I went to the John Rolfe page and there's
no.
comments below.
Oh, good.
So somebody did suggest that John Rolfe should be a surprise villain like Han, like a twist villain. Someone said, so Pocahontas gave up John Smith to marry this piece of trash. And someone did defend him. I think Rolfe deserves more respect. Anybody agree with me? No. And most certainly does not deserve the Scrappy-Doo treatment.
Scrappy-Doo.
Oh, man.
Okay, so yeah, the way the real John Rolfe and Pocahontas met was because she was captive and she was forced to convert to Christianity.
Yikes on bikes.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a diplomat for King James. He was a plantation owner in Virginia who had slaves.
Great.
And the reason that John Rolfe and Pocahontas went to England wasn't to make peace. It was because Rolfe turned Pocahontas into kind of like a side show attraction, which he referred to as the dignified savage.
No.
It was to promote English continued invasion and subjugation of the Native American people. And like I said before, Pocahontas, on her way back home to America with her son and her husband, died like right at the beginning of the journey. She was only 21. John Rolfe was cruel, violent, and a hateful man. He was a slave owner.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get why they want to be historically accurate in this one regard.
Right. It can, and also like, you know, she was a young teenager when she first met John Smith, and who was like a middle-aged man. There was never any, thank God, as far as we know, romantic thing between them.
Yeah.
So like, but it's the Pocahontas movies, both of them, they're a complete fantasy in a lot of ways.
It's a white person fantasy.
It's a white person fantasy, yeah. It's meant to sanitize colonialism, like the way these movies are presented. But, you know, as deeply problematic as it is, I think, you know, what I take from the first Pocahontas is really just everything up until the end of Colors of the Wind. Because, like, you know, there's some great songs, gorgeous animation. You know, you just, like, ignore the politics if you can and just try to enjoy Pocahontas as a character for who she is. She's awesome. She's badass. She's like, you know, like, and I've talked to like, you know, like friends of mine, you know, who are either like Latinx or indigenous, and they're like, yeah, you know, the first time I saw myself was in Pocahontas, and there's something worth in there, despite how it's probably like the most problematic of like most Disney films, or one of the top problematic films. So
Of
it is
like
what it is.
modern era.
Of
Like
modern
we
era,
could
right?
we could talk about Dumbo. We could talk about Aristocats
yes.
and Lady and the Tramp. We could go on, but like this is like the late this is late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Like are you guys ready for the Rotten Tomatoes score?
Oh, I like this
Let's
game.
do it.
Okay, what do you think the critic score was?
19%.
30%.
Oh, it's 29%.
Oh, you got it.
Sorry, you win. Price is Right rules.
Yeah, Price is Right rules. It says one critic said, because the first one wasn't historically inaccurate enough. Okay, what do you guys think the audience score was?
40%.
35%?
You guys are both over. It was 28, lower than the critical score.
Oh, man.
Someone said, this movie is so bad, I made an account specifically to give it the lowest score possible.
That's petty. That's real petty.
Oh, someone said, this movie stabbed me in the childhood.
Oh. Yeah.
This is just like...
This is just making me want to listen to If I Never Knew You on a loop.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's all this is making me want to do.
Extremely fair.
Colors of the Wind.
I will say, for all that I really do like the music in the first one, it is a little cringy when they try to both sides of the racism.
Oh, God.
Yeah. That's,
like in Savages, the song? Yeah.
I'm like, there's no both sides to this, y'all.
There is no both sides to this.
They're like, look, we're not that different. We both hate the same.
It's like, oh dear.
It's so bad.
They're like, they're aggressive too. Like,
and you know what was so weird is if you've been to like Phantasmic at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Pocahontas. And it's like the dig song.
Right.
And some other ones. And I'm like, I don't get why featuring this so prominently when they've been trying to kind of keep themselves away from this.
Isn't that because that's when Phantasmic started? Was in the mid-90s?
But they've updated it since then.
Oh, then I have no idea. I thought if they just kept the same show music, then that's why.
No, and it's like the Disneyland one is different. I think it would be fairly easy enough to switch it around a little bit. I don't know if it's just because they have like a guy who can swing around like Johns Smith, but you could just change that to Tarzan. It's fine.
Honestly, he's right there.
I don't know. Yeah, at the end when it's a happy ending, they're all on the boat. John Smith and Pocahontas are together and they're happy. There's no John Rolfe anywhere. Off to steal your girl.
What if? Oh no.
What?
I thought I have to say it. Imagine if they did like a third movie that showed like her breaking up with John Rolfe and going back with John Smith.
Oh,
like
I went to Archive of Our Own. Somebody's written that already.
Of course. It's canon.
AO3 always comes through.
AO3
yeah, I went to look and I was like, oh, there's a lot more John Smith / Pocahontas than there are John Rolfe and Pocahontas. And when there are John Rolfe fics, it's like, bye, John Rolfe.
Oh, man.
If you've seen this as a kid, I was just maybe rewatching it and just being like, oh my God.
Definitely do what we did, though. Tell your friends you're watching it. Tell them to stand by and then just text them your thoughts as you go because that makes it a lot easier to take.
That's basically what we did. Yeah.
Or just watch it. Yeah, watch it with someone. Don't watch it alone.
Don't watch it alone.
Because you need someone to talk to after this.
Yes. It's just like yelling in your own like space, especially if you're in an apartment and you don't want to like bother the neighbors or whatever. Yeah.
Or scare your dog.
That too.
I think I did. I was like, what is this? So Swara, where can people find you online?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I had an absolute great time discussing this absolute horrific racist train wreck. Y'all can find me online on Twitter at SpiderSwars. I'm also a co-host of the Middle Geeks podcast and Into the Spidercast. And I'm a writer and assistant editor for butwhythoughpodcast.com. So please check out all of those.
Okay, and you can find Arezou and I at thegeekywaffle.com, geeky_waffle on Twitter, and Geeky Waffle everywhere else, including TikTok. Go look at videos of my dog.
We are also on Patreon now, The Geeky Waffle.
Oh, yes, we're on Patreon. Thank you, Arezou. It's patreon.com/thegeekywaffle. And we have some really cool things there that possibly, might interest you, including some future Geeky Waffle After Dark.
Long promised.
Yes, we will be getting syrupy soon. We hope you have a happily ever after until the sequel where you dump the first guy and just traded him for a new one.